Solo movie is now complete. Darth Vader hunts down a Jedi, and could Mara Jade be making her great return from the expanded universe? We'll break it all down right now on episode 36 of Beyond the Blast Doors. Thank you so much for joining us. David Amalotti, one of your hosts. Joined with me is David Gilbert, Jesse Buck, the familiar crew of the last year, because that's right. This is the year anniversary of Beyond the Blast Doors. Actually, April 29th is the official one-year mark. So congratulations, gentlemen. Really proud of ourselves. We made it this far, and really excited to have you.
Internet shake for Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Steve and Steve. Everyone. Nick. No longer with
everybody,
us.
Yeah.
Nick's not dead. He just took another job. I felt like I need to clarify that. But really glad to have you part of our Star Wars conversation, because we have a lot of fun doing this every week. And if we have time at the end of the show, maybe we'll talk about our favorite moment from the past year. But our favorite thing that we like to do is give out free stuff. So let's go ahead and just kick this off with announcing that the winner of last week's weekly giveaway, you might remember that we are now sponsored by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. They are proud comic book shop serving the St. Louis area since 1981, and they gave us Darth Vader 14, Poe Dameron 26, Thrawn number 3, Star Wars Adventures number 9, and the annual, which is a mini trade. More than $35. I think it's like $35 worth of comics when you include the Mylar and the fullbacks that we put in there. And Andrew Kai, congratulations. Andrew, you have won the last week's giveaway. So thank you to our sponsors, Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. And Andrew, thank you so much for commenting down below. Hashtag That's No Moon. And of course, we'll have a new giveaway for this coming week. So be sure you're listening, be sure you're watching, and we'll be sure to give you that keyword as we arrive at that moment. But I don't want to tell you when, because that's how I entice you to keep listening and watching to the episode. Let's just kind of like dive right into this. Opening crawl is kind of what we do before we jump into the main segments of the show, and it's official. Solo has wrapped post-production. Ron Howard got out on Instagram recently and said that it's a wrap. And the exact quote is, that's a wrap on production here at Skywalker Ranch. Solo, wow, what a fun and exciting ride. This has been, for me, thanks to the extraordinary cast and everyone behind the camera. Hope fans around the world truly enjoy hashtag May 25th. And this is about normal for a lot of movies. Finishing somewhere around that month to 6 weeks out. Again, we talked about it before, how The Last Jedi was kind of a freak in the sense that it was in the can for almost 3 months.
Almost 3 full months.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. There definitely seems to be a lot of excitement and pride with Ron Howard. And I think, Jesse, that should give us all excitement when the director's happy about it.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen my struggle with this film over the course of the last year, really. It's kind of been up and down because of all the rumors and drama, and just through the trailers alone, and just knowing that, hey, Ron Howard did it, and just the little Easter eggs I found in those trailers, I'm actually pretty excited. I took a vacation day in preparation for this, so Ron, don't let me down.
That's awesome. And, David, Ron really has proved himself to be the #1 source of all Solo news on his social media,
Which has been phenomenal to watch.
It's been great.
And like Jesse, I've struggled with this one, but every now and then Ron gives us that little tidbit that keeps me going. Whether it's the salt mines, or a picture of Chewie's mask, or just something.
Wait, those are things that excite you, and not the 2.5-minute trailer that he gave us? Because that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, but he didn't give us that until recently.
I got
This is
you.
stuff that he's given us since September, since June.
I like the cape closet that he gave us, and that actually plays in a role in the movie, which is cool. Huh?
Mandalorians.
Oh my gosh!
I am certain that we're going to see heavy influence of Mandalorians. It's all over.
Yeah,
the whole trailer is screaming it at me.
Jesse wasn't here last week, but he texted us after we recorded last week's episode, and he's hovering over his computer with a beer in his hand going, I found Mandalorians in the trailer.
Second by second, shot by shot.
Yeah, no joke. I watched it probably about 10 different times. Mainly part of it was the... I can't think of the character, and this is terrible, but the one of the villains he's got Orabesh, or I guess it's come out, it's like a pre-Orabesh. It's like the alphabet in the Galactic Universe. But that handy-dandy visual encyclopedia that you were making fun of me for a couple months back actually has how to translate that. So I've been kind of hoping to get a close-up of that to transcribe it, and I'll let you know if I get anything.
Well, Ron Howard, we thank you. And with that, we'll jump into Real Talk. Yeah. Real Talk, the segment where if Star Wars is on the screen, We're going to talk about it because it's there on the screen, and StarWars.com made the announcement official. Star Wars Resistance is the new animated series that Lucasfilm will be giving all of us Star Wars fans. It's slated for this fall of 2018, and on the website it says production has begun on Star Wars Resistance, an exciting new animated adventure series about Kuzato Zino. I think that's how you say the name. There's no phonetics offered. A young pilot recruited by the Resistance and tasked on a top-secret mission to spy on the growing threat of the First Order. It will premiere this fall on Disney Channel in the U.S. and thereafter on Disney XD and around the world, featuring the high-flying adventure that audiences of all ages have come to expect from Star Wars. Star Wars Resistance, set in the time prior to Star Wars The Force Awakens, will feature the beloved droid BB-8, alongside ace pilots, colorful new characters, and appearances by fan favorites including Poe Dameron and Captain Phasma, voiced by actors Oscar Isaac, Gwendolyn Christie, respectively. David, we hear the news of this new animated series, and all we have is a logo image where you have Star Wars Resistance, you have looks like an X-Wing fighter, and BB-8 pop out. What's your first thoughts?
We had talked about this before, and I think none of us were really excited for a TV show that's set in this Resistance era. I know one of the things I really wanted to see was another TV show with more lightsaber-wielding action, so I'm a little disappointed right off the bat. This is not the era I was hoping to see Filoni tackle next.
What about you, Jesse? Because we kind of expected that. I think there were two theories. There was, you're going to jump into that time period after Return of the Jedi, or are we going to go right with Sabine and Ahsoka to try and find Ezra?
I still think we'll get that at some point. I really do. It's kind of like how eventually we got Ahsoka and Rebels. For me, like, I kind of have the same, experiencing the same feelings that you guys have. But at the same time, I had these same feelings about when they announced Rebels. I was very unsure about it. I was like, this isn't Clone Wars, you know, like I was really kind of hostile about it. And, you know, Rebels really took me by surprise. So I think trust in Filoni, you know, I think the story will be good. You know, like that's what I'm trusting. He hasn't let us down yet.
I'm interested because Dave Filoni has talked about how this is going to be World War II, a lot of dogfighting. He was really influenced by that World War II concept there. Of
his grandpa and his uncle.
Yeah, he mentions that, and I thought something else was interesting. Is this going to be like kind of like anime style?
Oh, so, like a different art style?
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see how that goes because Rebels was similar to Clone Wars, kind of, but it was vastly different in a lot of ways, but there were some similarities there. This seems like it's going to be completely different, and if I'm being entirely honest, I'm excited about it because Dave Filoni will still be involved with it, but based on just the one image that we've gotten so far, it seems that it's definitely targeting that younger generation, the kids. It feels to me like a PBS. Like, I would see this show on PBS. It seemed very childlike. But that's just based on my assumption of seeing the image.
That's like a title card.
Don't cut me off. Come on, man.
It's just a title card.
I know, but still, like, you want to see...
It's pretty in blue, and it's got a starfighter on it.
Oh, my God. See,
and BB-8 creeping around the corner.
And you have the attention span of an 8-year-old, so of course you're intrigued by it. What do you think about this new announcement of Star Wars Resistance? Hey, kudos to us, because we actually saw this rumor early on, and we talked about it 3 episodes ago. So kudos to us for talking about that. We had mentioned that Lucasfilm had copyrighted Star Wars Resistance and thought, well, it's only a matter of time. And so I think, Jesse, you were willing to go. You doubled down and said that would be the name of the next animated series. So kudos to you. Let us know what you think about this new series. Let us know in the comments below. Are you excited for it? Do you like the time period this is happening at? We want to know what you think down in the comments below. Next topic in Real Talk, Solo: A Star Wars Story, Alden Ehrenreich. He's talking about it all. Firings, hirings, how much he enjoys wearing Han's pants. I mean, he really breaks it all down in this recent interview.
Well, they're pretty snazzy pants.
I think what I took away most, and I you know, all 3 of us have read this thing, but I think my biggest takeaway from this is how he shoots down a lot of the rumors about Phil Lord, Lord and Miller on set, because there were a lot of rumors swirling around about, you know, how they took too much time on set trying to do a scene, and how they couldn't make decisions, and how there was like applause when it was announced that they were removed from the project and Ron Howard was brought on. And I like the fact that he really addressed these things, and mentioning just even about the role of an acting coach. You know, he says she was part of conversations that happened for a couple weeks at one point, but that was basically it. He also calls, listen, I mentioned the applause thing. He literally says in the interview, that's BS. We don't swear on this show anymore, so I'm censoring myself. I'm proud. My mother's proud. We're all proud. He says that's BS. You know, people were excited that Ron had joined the effort because that meant everybody got to keep their job. The movie was not going to end. So he really clarified that. So that's what my biggest takeaway from. I also think he was being a little political there. But when you're the lead actor and your movie comes out in a couple of weeks, you need to stay really positive. And I thought he handled that with a lot of class. So I appreciated that. Jesse, any big takeaways from this article? Now that Alden Ehrenreich, I mean, a month out of the movie or so, he's finally able to speak about this movie, and it's exciting.
For me, what really stuck out was in the quotations. He's like, for a crew to do that would mean that they hated Lord and Miller, which was not by the stretch in any case. To me, that really stuck out quite a bit because you kind of nailed it right on the head there. This was something to do. I mean, this is their job. This is how they make their living. Mm-hmm. So for them to potentially can the movie means that he would be jobless. You know, he'd be back to square one. You know, trying to find his next gig. And that's not just Aaron. That's Emilia Clarke. I mean, she's trying to pull away from Game of Thrones and not be completely typecast into that. So I mean that's a step backwards for her, as an example. So I think just from a professional standpoint, I definitely don't think everybody's like yay, no, I think yes, there was some relief, but I don't think there's any animosity from any of the actors towards Lord and Miller. I think really what it came down to is those two were just not achieving the goal. This is a very important Star Wars character. Han Solo is not something you take lightly.
I agree, yeah.
So if they weren't going to nail the story, they had to bring somebody in who could.
You're absolutely right, and Disney has proven that before. More specifically, Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. I think it's a great point because Lucasfilm has not strayed away from the fact that if it's not working story-wise, they'll go back and reshoot the last third of a movie. That's what they did with Rogue One. Gilroy came in and basically did the reshoots on his own and did the last act of that movie. So I think that's a great observation that the story has to maintain priority. And, again, the acting coach was brought up so much, and
that didn't really bother me. Did it bother you?
I was indifferent. It's not unusual. Like, there are some directors, I mean, think about this. There are some directors that play a lot in animation, and that's what Lord and Miller did. I keep saying Phil Lord and Chris Miller, but I mean, that's who they are. I just try and do the last names because it saves time. And they did like the 21 Jump Street and stuff. But sometimes directors have a challenge of communicating with actors. I mean, let's think about George Lucas. I mean, I would say that there's been a lot of documentation about how he wasn't the greatest communicator during the prequel. Yeah, how about you? You're gonna kill the younglings? All right, yeah. Go, action. So I mean,
need more sand on set. More sand, please.
Yeah,
more sand.
So sometimes you need that acting coach in there to really to speak the actor's lingo to get them to figure out how to portray the role. But I mean, and a coach on set is not unusual, at least from what I've read, what I've heard. So like I know that I work in broadcast television, and we have people who come in and offer consult to the on-air talent. How do you present yourself? How your posture? The way you put emphasis behind words. You're coached up. Yeah, everyone's settling up. Stay open to the camera, Jesse. We talk about that one a lot. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the third topic of Real Talk. And just real quick, we have a new TV spot, another TV spot, and this is expected. I mean, it's not the 27 different TV spots we had with like The Last Jedi or Force Awakens, but we'd get a better look at Corellia. You get some wider shots of the planets. And so does anything in particular stick out real quick, David?
It kind of looks like a crap hole. I mean, it does not look like a pretty city. Like, I imagine Corellia being this like beautiful, almost kind of like a Naboo, but less like, cheesy with the running through the fields and hugging and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was just Anakin and Padme in all defense.
Right. Well, yeah. But I did not expect, when we started going into more in depth about Corellia, I did not expect a more industrialized city, and that being where he came from.
I still think my favorite shot in all of the footage that we've seen so far is the assembly of the Star Destroyer in the sky. I just think that is so stunning. Jesse, anything in particular stick out?
Yeah, the Star Destroyer construction, that was pretty cool. For me, like, this is the weird thing is, so I mean, I've been to Corellia in the video game world.
Oh, okay.
With Star Wars: The Old Republic, and
this is taking an interesting turn.
the thing is that I mean, it was
Role-playing.
kind of a war-torn planet at that time. I mean, and
Right.
obviously, Old Republic isn't considered canon yet. But so
Yet.
the weird thing is
Anymore.
in my head, I kind of had a different like because it was like a lighter place, and this seems like. I mean, it could have changed. I mean, the Empire looks like it industrialized
And it's a big planet.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing to point out because Corellian wine is talked about all the time in the comics and the books, even in
Yeah.
the movies. I think it's one time mentioned. So I mean, I think there is, I'm sure, a lovelier hemisphere.
It seemed a little
Than what we
gritty,
get
a
to
little
see.
dirty. It wasn't. I was kind of expecting, maybe something kind of a mix between maybe Naboo and maybe Alderaan.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing we're more industrialized with what we're getting out of Solo. I mean, we did
Yeah.
hear Ron Howard say that one of the reasons why he wanted that is because he needed to figure out a way for Han to be like sharp, quick-witted, and he put him in a city. That way, he'd have to learn those skills.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just love. I love those little tidbits that
Yeah.
Ron gives of how you're developing the character. I mean, this isn't an true origin story. But you are seeing the development of a character. How does the 31-year-old become the 31-year-old? Well, he has to be in his late teens or late 20s at some point. So really exciting to see how this unfolds. And you know what? Let's keep this like the same topic. But I know that in the show notes I had the next one we were talking about all the posters that have recently been revealed. We got like 14 new character posters,
14.
and they look stellar. I like the theme. We finally got our branding figured out. It seems like after we stopped hijacking the stylings of a French jazz musician, that we really got a hone on the brand here. So, Jesse, let's start with you on this one. Any posters, any characters particularly jump out at you?
The one that I actually thought looked really fantastic was actually Aaron doing the kind of the classic solo pose with the blaster out.
Right.
I really felt I was like, yeah, I can kind of see it there. That this is a young Han Solo, and we're getting the kind of a tease of those postures and poses that that we would see from older Han, and that made me really happy.
We're getting a Han Solo that is going to care it in this movie. He's going to care about what people think. He's going to double think his actions, and something happens along the way where he stops caring, and it's all about himself and it's all about Chewie. David, any images that catch your eye?
The Paul Bettany one is Dryden Voss. He's looking dressed all in the black. He's got like the scar on his face. He's looking like very villainous, and I don't know. I don't know why we need 14 more posters. I mean, I don't see the current ones hanging up around our community. So I mean, I don't know if there's some intern just sitting there like, I'm just gonna make a few dozen more posters today.
Well, some theaters get real into it, and they'll actually hang these from the rafters.
Yeah.
I mean, in small town USA, you're not going to see that. But like if you go out to like in LA or you're in New York, you're going to have these things fluttering through the rafters. So I think they'll look great. I think it's interesting that every actor is accredited on their poster with their character name, except Chewbacca's Chewbacca.
Chewbacca's
Did
Chewbacca.
you guys notice that?
Well, I wonder, did they maybe? Well,
Chewbacca. Do you notice the like starburst behind them that kind of looks like they're looking out of the Falcon?
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
city?
that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. They're
That's
sharp.
neat.
They're sharp posters. Let us know what you think at this point. You've seen new TV spots. You're seeing these new posters. Are they helping you get excited to see this movie come May 25th? We're gonna go see it Thursday. So it's technically the 24th.
Yeah. Are you taking off work for that?
I might.
Okay.
I might be doing that.
are you telling me that I need to adjust some request off at work?
Well, because you took off that Friday, right?
Yeah.
But they always release at 7, and they have a 7 and 10 o'clock showing that Thursday night before. But I mean, we could go the Thursday and we could join you on Friday. We'd be our second time.
Or I could put a request in to have an opening shift that day.
Attaboy, look at you. He's like a semi-manager. He gets pulled here. Don't be too impressed, okay? He's kind of a schmuck. All right, so that's going to do it for Real Talk, the segment where if it's on the screen and it's related to Star Wars, we're talking about it. Pages, Pixels, Pieces is the next segment of our show, and this segment is brought to you by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. Proud to have our local comic book shop as our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. It's a great weekend. This weekend, we're recording the show, is the back order special that they have. So basically every back issue is $1, or if it's a $10 or more book, they do like half off, which is a great deal. And then they have free comic book day the first Saturday of May. So I think you and I are talking about driving down there and hanging out with those crew. It's a lot of fun. Saturday and Sunday they have Star Wars tournaments with the various games. So
I promise I'll get down there sometime. It's just work. It's just got to sync up.
Hey, you know what? We'll figure it out. But like we just got done saying, you're a manager. You have sway. He doesn't. He's a schmuck. Okay, cool. So it's going to be the recurring theme of the episode, right? We have a couple comic books to talk about this week. Darth Vader 15, Dr. Aphra 19. Let's go ahead and just start with Dr. Aphra. Let's change it up a little bit because this is a book line that we don't give as much attention to, but nonetheless it is a fan favorite. And you're talking about Dr. Aphra in February was I think it was like the second most sold book. So that's
Really?
pretty. I mean that's a big deal. Out of all the comics, it's got a huge following, and so we give it some respect. Remastered is the current arc that we're in right now, and basically 000, which is one of those assassin droids that was with Dr. Aphra for so long, has betrayed her,
Blackmailing her, right?
blackmailing her. Yes, and so it's a really interesting story. And what I like about this is the connectivity. It's something that I think is lacking from the saga films. But you have Harrison Dula on the cover of number 18. She's in this one with Aphra, and Aphra's hanging out on a rebel base and such. But
Sneaking around, everybody's chasing her down.
yeah, she's definitely got a lot on her mind. So I enjoy the issue. I think it's fun. The art's not my favorite, but it's not the worst. But it's more childlike to me in a way. There's moments where it's a little bit more
Doesn't
childlike.
bother me.
But what were
It's
your
not like it's not like the faces in the Star Wars mainline.
Yeah, Salvador LaRocca is going down. Did you see though that for I think it was Star Wars the main run that got an Eisner Award?
Really?
Yeah, but it was the penciler that got it, and I'm blanking on that individual's name. But at first I thought it was Salvador. I'm like, man, for as much controversy as he's getting right now with his faces, oh man. But congratulations to that guy for penciling really well. Or maybe he was the letterer. I think it was the letterer.
Letterer?
I'm sorry, I messed that up. The letterer. Nonetheless, Dr. Aphra, anything stick out from you, David?
I don't know. The story's not really calling to me. I do like the concept of it, where 000 blackmailing Dr. Aphra to find his old memory chips. So that's kind of interesting. It was kind of neat with Hera in there,
And it's a different 000 that we've seen before, right? Because I think a lot of us here at this table were introduced to the character
in the 2015 Vader run.
Yes. And then you also had them appear in like the Screaming Citadel, kind of in and out, right? Because Aphra was trying to screw over Luke and whatnot. So anything stand out to you on this issue? I know you're not a big follower of the comics, but I know you glanced at it.
I glanced at it a little bit. Honestly, like this one just, I have trouble with comics.
Yeah.
I really am having trouble with this one. I'm just not feeling it personally. I mean, it's cool to see Hera, pop back in, kind of builds on her character, which is great.
Well, we know that Hera lives out through, the battle on Endor. I mean, so she's around, so it's cool to see her weaving in that story a little bit more now.
Yeah, that's really the highlight for me. It's just not really doing much for me, unfortunately. But that other series you introduced me to,
Darth Vader number 15 is a masterpiece.
it is.
Before we get to that,
Yes.
the letter that we were talking
Yes.
about, Clayton Cowles,
Oh.
C-W-L-E-S.
Clayton, congratulations on your Eisner. That's a big deal. That's like an Emmy. I mean, that's a big deal.
Well, I don't know if you got it. That's the letterer who does the Star Wars line. So if it is a letter, it's him. If it's a colorist, it's
Penciler?
Guru. Nope, penciler. I don't see a penciler. Writer, artist, colorist, letterer, cover,
It was probably the letter.
assistant. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Clayton.
There we go. Yeah. All right, cool. So Darth Vader 15 is the real comic that we want to talk about because this is
so cool.
the continued pursuit of Jedi Master Bar. And, oh my gosh, I'm mad about the ending because it is probably the truest cliffhanger we've gotten in this series so far. I worship at the altar of Charles Soule and Giuseppe Camicoli. I mean, I just really admire the work that these guys do. I'm reading Daredevil comic books now because I like Charles Soule that much.
He's got an altar in the closet.
Oh my gosh. Hallelujah. Okay, so anyways, we're on Mon Cala, right? And this battle is ensuing, and I'm just if you take out the Vader component of this comic, it is still really cool to see the Mon Calamari going up against the Empire. The Empire have these like hover platforms that they're descending to the surface, and they're able to dispatch TIE fighters and troopers, and the troopers are going around. It reminded me a lot of the Micro series from 2003 because there was a scene where the clone troopers go down on Mon Cala. It was a very similar situation where it was with Kit Fisto, and the clone troopers have these like jet speeder type things that are built for underwater. Designs looked really similar. So I don't have it confirmed that that was an influence, but that's what it reminded me of. And I get really excited when I'm reminded of that original 2003 run. So that was really cool. But David, what sticks out? Because I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot. But the two things that really stick out, the first is when Vader's underwater and he's hanging out with that Kraken, and he touches its eye and does like a force mind trick on it, and then he puts Vader down in a force bubble and gives him back his lightsaber, and then Vader like rides him back to the surface. I just thought that was really cool.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Vader hanging out with a big squid.
You know, and obviously Vader is getting caught up in the battle, and he's trying to find this Jedi. He reconnects with the Inquisitors, and they let him know they haven't tracked down the King. They were supposed to track down the King. They didn't do that job. They were supposed to find the Jedi. They didn't do that. So Vader's
They know where the Jedi is.
But they do know
didn't track him down.
They did, because they tortured Lichar. Oh, shoot.
Lichar?
Lichar.
Yeah.
There we go. I want to say Lichala, but I was kind of combining Black Panther there. Jesse, I've converted you to the comics through Darth Vader. What are your thoughts about this issue?
Overall,
Yeah.
very intense.
Yeah, baby.
Just a lot of things going on. You mentioned like the technology. This is going to sound really weird to you, but it reminds me of James Bond Thunderball.
How so?
Just the underwater stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
can
like
see that.
you know, like it's just something. I
Yeah.
love that movie as a kid, so I think that's why I'm kind of like having fun with this comic, because it's just like it's different. You know, you're kind of used to all the TIE fighters,
Space
X-wings,
stuff and
actual ground combat, and this is aquatic and everything. So, just overall, just 10 out of 10. And the cliffhanger, like, just can't wait.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate how ruthless Governor Tarkin is? Is he governor here, or is he Grand Moff yet?
I believe he's governor at this point, because it's still early on. We're still like
Yeah, I
right
think
after
it's pretty
Revenge.
early on.
Well, regardless, how ruthless he is. When he's talking with Commander Jordo, and he says that I realize I can expect very little from you, so requisition a set of stormtrooper armor for him and send him to the surface. Perhaps he'll find a way to make himself useful. I mean,
That's
MVP of the Empire.
Yeah.
right there.
It was probably the best moment of that comic, considering the fact that Vader does the thing with the Kraken-like monster, and you have the scene where you have Bar with his Jedi. I love how they're so openly talking about Anakin Skywalker and how he betrayed the Jedi. To me, that's the reward of opening up the canon again and being able to explore that there were survivalists of Order 66, that some people did know Anakin Skywalker was the one, that they did know that Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. To me, that was really cool. And to know how that last panel ends, the end of these Jedi could be in the very near future. I won't give that all away. I mean, we don't even warn you. We just spoiled the whole damn issue on you. But it's at this point, honestly, if you're gonna read the comic, you're gonna read it. But if you want to know it all, stick around in just a second, because we're about to give it away. But anything else that we haven't talked about from this issue that we want to talk? I mean, I think it was overall, a 10 out of 10. I know that we were a little disenchanted with issue number 11. I don't like the Ninth Sister.
But it wasn't. There have been worse comics put out there by the Star Wars universe.
That's true. That's very
And
true.
if we're 15 issues in and we have complaints, if we are nitpicking one out of the 15, then this is a solid run.
yeah.
It really is. It's really enjoyable, and we want you to let us know, what is your favorite comic from this week. Let us know in the comments below, because that's how we continue our Star Wars conversation. And, gentlemen, I think it's time that we give away more free comics. So this week's giveaway, thanks to our sponsors, the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri, Darth Vader number 15, Dr. Aphra number 19. Folks,
Just those two?
we need a keyword. Yeah, because, we do the weeks of, and I think next week maybe we'll do maybe a variant or so. We are going to be announcing our 600 subscriber contest in the very near future to kind of complement our 1-year anniversary. But for this week, this week's comics, Darth Vader number 15, Dr. Aphra 19, and let's make the keyword this week #smells like fish. All right, so smells like fish is the hashtag, right? Because Vader is slicing up those Mon Calamari, and woo, man, does it smell like a Catholic fish fry in here. Okay, so what we need to do is comment down below, #smells like fish. You might have a chance to win
Fried calamari
this week's
sounds
comics.
pretty good.
Fried calamari does sound really good.
Do you think that we won't dive into that dark side of? Do they eat Mon Calamari?
There's this guy that
It's a delicacy.
there's a meme on the internet right now where it's like a Lego fish shop, and it's all these these Mon Calamari characters walking up and eating the fish, and it's like,
You can get it at Canto Bite for premium credit.
oh yeah, can't help bite. They're all freaks there. Once again, want to thank our sponsors, the Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981, for sponsoring that segment. Next up, Stash It or Blast It. Rumor right now, Star Wars Episode 9, casting a character codenamed Mara. There is a rumor. This isn't a confirmed report, okay? But the codenamed character Mara. And this rumor comes from the guys over at the Hashtag Show that do have a pretty solid reputation as far as casting news is concerned. And apparently Abrams and casting director Nina Gold, who, worked alongside each other on Episode 7. They're looking for a female lead, 40 to 50 years old, to play the role of Mara. It's a common practice, I think, for films to use codenames. I think this is just trolling, but am I wrong? Jesse, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, again, as you mentioned, they've kind of used code names before for things. If there is any sort of truth to this, Mara is probably in reference to what the rumor is suggesting, Mara Jade, who in the old universe was an assassin, a Force-sensitive assassin trained by Palpatine.
Becomes Luke's wife, right?
And eventually becomes Luke Skywalker's wife.
Wouldn't it be kind of funny if, like, you start Episode 9 and it's, like, right after Episode 8 and, like, Mara Jade comes out of the bathroom or something. Luke! It's like a callback to Baru.
Yeah.
And then she gets incinerated. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's any truth to that, I think it'd be kind of cool because it was a great character in the old universe and everything. So, yeah, it is a little exciting to know that they're kind of. I mean, if there's any
They're
truth,
trolling you. They're making fun of you, essentially. This
Yeah.
is J.J. Abrams making fun of fans, I think. And I don't think he's doing it to be mean, but I think he's having fun. He's like, here's something that will not happen, Mara Jade. And also, 40 to 50 years old wouldn't match up with what Mara would need to be. Or maybe it would. I don't know. They do whatever they have.
I don't know. I mean, Lucas. I mean, he looked pretty good, man, in the Last Jedi, despite
No, he didn't. He looked awful.
Well, I mean, when he force projected himself, he
was
kind of cleaned up nice for an old guy.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, he found a razor. David, what do you think? Is Mara Jade going to show up in Episode 9?
No, I think I'm gonna blast it. I think it's just a rumor. They're having their fun, and we should have the fun too.
Cool. Blast it or stash it?
You know what? I'm just gonna be the devil's advocate here. We're gonna stash it.
And that's why you don't care about your reputation, because it's tainted now. I'm blasting it. The next topic in Stash It or Blast It, Star Wars show. Great people over there. Andy Gutierrez, the host of that show. They had Kevin Feige, the mastermind over there for Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, on the show. He's a big Star Wars fan. He talked about things about how he was growing up, the merchandise and all these things. And now the rumors are swirling. Are they trying to put Kevin Feige in front of the fan base now to usher in the Feige era of Star Wars after the success of Infinity War, which, if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War,
Spoilers.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, my gosh, it's such a good movie. But, it would make sense for the rumor to start because there has been concern for a while about, is Kathleen Kennedy's strength being a creative contributor, or should she truly be just a producer? And I think she should just be producer, and I've always felt that Dave Filoni should have been given the reins of the creative elements of the storytelling. David, let's start with you. Blast it or stash it. Kevin Feige, is he going to take over Star Wars in the near future?
I don't think so. I would be okay with it if he did because I love what he's done with the MCU.
Okay.
My concern with him hopping over is that we've got the Star Wars universe going so many different directions right now because we have the TV series coming to Disney straight to
streaming service. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. We have Episode 9 coming out. We're talking about a couple different rumors for other standalone movies. We've got What's-His-Face's Johnson's 3 new movies that are coming out. So there's such a wide variety of things that are coming out, and that's not what Feige's done with the MCU, where things tend to go more sequentially.
Very methodical, yeah.
Right. So I don't think he's going to want to try to hop into that while all of this is going on. I also would be concerned if he's trying to hop away from Marvel. Why? Is he getting bored with it after 10 years? I mean, there's no way that he's, Disney's letting him do whatever he wants.
He's making a lot of money.
They just let him make like a $500 million movie. I mean, who else is given that creativity outside of like Jim Cameron? I mean, that's about it.
Are you on like really good terms with Jim?
No.
I've never heard anyone call James Cameron Jim.
Yeah.
You have him like, is he in like your select 5? That's awesome. Sorry.
So David's got a little red phone on his desk. It's a direct line to James Cameron.
I mean,
hey Jim, I miss you.
Feige's got this really awesome gig because he gets to do whatever he wants. He gets to play in a universe that he's created. I'm sure he's getting compensated very, very well for it. And if you've seen what he's done, he's built it up from one movie every other year to now they're pumping out 3 movies a year.
And it could be more.
So why would he want to leave that to come to Star Wars for a different format in a different universe, unless there was something big going on behind the scenes that maybe would mean Kathleen Kennedy is getting the ultimate boot, which I don't want to see necessarily, because, I mean, I enjoy what she's been doing with Disney. I know you have your qualms about this most recent movie,
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. All right, hey, so Jesse, I'm
gonna blast it. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'd be okay if it did.
I was gonna have him save his final decision until after you were done talking, but that's okay. David wanted to just bulge right in there, you know, put himself right in there. Those were both inappropriate. It wasn't a good effort on my part. What do you think about this, Jesse?
Honestly, I mean, this guy, his expertise is Marvel. Okay, I wouldn't mind him maybe doing a movie or something. I don't want to see him take over because, for one, I think that's a slap in the face to people who have long-term worked on the Star Wars franchise. Dave Filoni. I'm kind of with you. I would rather see Dave Filoni helm the storyboard and the direction of the lore. I don't want to see this individual in charge. As far as replacing Kathleen Kennedy, there are pros and cons to Kathleen. I think
no one's talking about replacing Kathleen Kennedy. Kevin Feige would not. Kevin Feige would be taking over the creative storytelling element, not replacing Kathleen. You would keep Kathleen as producer in this. I do not want this to be a bashing of Kathleen Kennedy.
That's a demotion for him then, because he's producer too, executive producer for all the Marvel ones.
But if he's getting Star Wars money, who does it matter? I think this is what's ridiculous from both of these two. Okay, because I agree with you that Dave Filoni would be my number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But Kevin Feige is not a bad number 2. He's not a bad fallback. And if they want to give it to Dave Filoni, give it to Kevin Feige. And you know what? Here's what's great. David mentions that Star Wars right now is kind of going off in these different directions, and he listed out all those different directions. But what if you had Kevin Feige come in there who had this ability to kind of pull it all together and go, all right, so you have these 3 different projects, but this is where this story is going, and this is where this story is going, and this is where this story is going. And then he brings in that methodical approach of going, okay, well, here's where season 1 of the streaming service will go, and then here's 2, and then here's 3, and here's 4, and they're all different eras. How fun is that? And Benioff and Weiss is going to do a series of these movies, so it's boom, 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 boom. I don't think that's a bad thing. A little organization, a little structure would be good. And I'll tell you why Kevin Feige would be really great is because this is a guy who shows you that he can touch the core fans, excite the core fans of a property, but also expand the audience. What has my biggest complaint of episode 7 and 8 been is that they do a great job of expanding the fan base and the audience and getting a lot of people who aren't traditional fans to be excited of the franchise, but it leaves a lot of us hardcore fanboys at home going, that's not my Luke Skywalker. That's not my Luke. So I would say that a Kevin Feige would be a really great attribute to the franchise. I'll admit it. I know that I cry wolf a lot about Luke Skywalker, so I poked fun at myself. David gave me a condescending look. That's okay. You know why? Because you're a jerk. Okay. So
I was going to say that sounded really well rehearsed.
I'm going to stash it.
I think he really did rehearse this.
I'm going to stash it. What are you going to do? Blast it?
Blast
it. I'm going to blast it.
All right. You guys are party poopers. It's okay. Hey, listen. I would gladly take Kevin Feige in the Star Wars universe. That's going to do it for Stash It or Blast It. Fan Comlink is next. We only have 1 tweet, but you know what? It's a big fan of the show. Emperor Palpatine, Sheev Palpy. He's a Patreon supporter and an avid Twitter of ours. Comments on all our episodes. He's the bee's knees. And he asks us, do you think there will be a Starkiller Base 2 in Episode 9? I think it's a fair question. I don't want it to happen, but it's a fair question. You know, some people, I'm sure, were upset when they got to Return of the Jedi, and there was this second Death Star, and they're like, well, what's the difference between this Death Star? Well, it's 4 times the size. Yeah. You know, it's bigger, it's better, it's fully operational. It's not even complete. So, David, let's start with you on this one. Do you think we'll have a Starkiller Base 2?
I do not think we'll have a Starkiller Base 2. I think that the First Order is smart enough to realize that that was probably a colossal mistake, and they're going to take it a different direction. Quite honestly, we've seen nothing with the Knights of Ren. I think that's where Abrams is going to focus his emphasis.
I hope so.
Is on wrapping up the storylines and giving us what's going on with these Knights of Ren.
I would be down with that. Jesse, what about you?
For me, I don't think it would be logical because I want to know, where does the First Order get all its money? Okay, this has to cost money in order to build it. You have to pay somebody to get the resources.
Slave labor.
If you've read the Aftermath books, the Empire hightails it off into the unknown regions, for a number of years before we even get the First Order.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering is what's going on in the unknown regions, because they are the remnants of the Empire, and they had control of some planets, I'm sure, still. So, but yeah, I think you have a very valid point.
Yeah,
how do you have the ability
resources,
how do you turn another
resources.
planet? And the other thing too is, how do you find another planet that has the ability to be a powerful weapon like that? Because most are assuming that it's Elam, the planet Elam, which had a Jedi temple and was a large source of kyber crystals. That was the planet that was Starkiller base. Not confirmed yet, but it's even in the same area on the map. So how many planets of those are lying around the galaxy? I'm imagining very few. That's just my thing. But I think it is a cool question to ask. So I will also say I don't think there would be a Starkiller base. I think it's going to be something similar to what we saw with The Last Jedi, where the First Order is pretty much just dealing with their navy. They have their armada of ships, and they rule from the stars. Staying on Target is the final segment of our show, and we're having a lot of fun with Staying on Target now, the recently reformatted segment, Staying on Target, where we take a common theme, a topic, a controversy of the Star Wars galaxy, and we battle it out. This week, the best prequel-era blaster. We are pretty excited. Jesse's the most excited. His seat is damp right now. But we are going to do this in a similar fashion to last week. So Staying on Target, what will happen is we will first tell you the three blasters that we are arguing for. So we each have our own blaster. We'll then start, since David, you went first last time, and I went second. However, in the comments, I was deemed your winner of Staying on Target last week. I'm pretty proud of that. I thought I fought very valiantly with my BX Commando droid.
Thanks, guys.
There were some people that really, John Bothman, who's a proud Patreon supporter and lover of our show. God bless John. You know why, Jesse? Because he comes on there and he goes, you know what? If you're talking about who argued better, David and Lottie argued better. So I got his vote, and he was the tiebreaker. So it was pretty awesome. Made me feel really good.
Let's see if I can't dethrone you this week.
Well, hey, best of luck. So let's go. Jesse, myself, David first. Real quick, what blaster are you going to be touting?
The awesome DC-17 blaster pistol.
And where would we most likely have seen this?
You would have seen this in the hands of Captain Rex and various clone commandos throughout the Clone Wars.
Okay, I'm doing the Z6 rotary blaster cannon mode. I think it was first seen... I believe it was first seen in the Micro series in 2003. You saw it a lot in the Clone Wars, and you also see it in Star Wars Rebels. So it stands the test of time. I'll argue later. It'll be fine. David, which blaster?
A Wester 34 blaster pistol that Jango Fett wielded.
Okay, so this is okay. And what I love about the blaster, I'm not showing favoritism here, but I love the sound of the blaster.
Yeah.
The sound of like a lot of weapons in the prequels overall were really stellar, like those sonic bombs that Jango would drop in the asteroid field. God, that was awesome. Okay, so how this is going to go is I'm going to put a timer on the clock. So you can go no longer than 2 minutes, okay? But if you need all that time, go ahead. If you don't need all that time, then stop talking because there's no point if you don't need it, okay? So, all right, here we go. We're going to do this. And are you ready, Jesse?
I'm ready.
David Gilbert, are you ready?
I am.
David, are you ready? Yes, I'm ready, David. Thank you much. David, you were so polite. Okay, it's 3, 2, 1.
My turn here? We're going with me first?
The countdown would suggest that you're going first.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I chose the DC-17, and the reason I chose it is because it's the standard blaster of the Grand Army of the Galactic Republic, so a little bit of history going on there. Nicknamed the Commando Pistol, it was commonly used by ARC troopers and almost exclusively used by Captain Rex, dual wielding, by the way, which he used throughout the Clone Wars and into the Galactic Civil War. Cool points about the blaster is that the blaster was ionized, so its blaster bolts were ionized, granting improved damage against droid targets while maintaining lethality against organic targets. And also had an exceptional fire rate and firepower. So like this was a very fantastic blaster pistol to carry.
30 seconds.
And yeah, I mean, compared to any other blaster that you see in the prequels. I mean, this is military grade. This was designed for combat.
I guess what Okay. Are you done?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, great. Okay, awesome. So he did. So now we put 2 minutes on the clock where Dave and I can retort what he just argued. Okay? So I'm going to start this right now. Now, here's my question. You're talking about a pistol, not a blaster. So right there, you just lost this argument because you didn't even follow
It's a blaster
the
pistol.
damn directions. But the point being here is, if it's in close proximity, sure, that's effective, but you're not able to pick anyone off from any great distance away. I feel like those pistols are like a last resort, right?
I don't know. Captain Rex effectively used them throughout the Clone Wars.
If you're on the Battle of Geonosis on the front lines and you're faced with, like, all those droids, are you going to go to your pistol? You might as well just shoot yourself at that point because you're going to die. There's no point.
Not necessarily. It all depends on the situation. I'm not saying that it was the best like blaster in every situation, but in terms of overall, I kind of feel like it had a lot of versatility and everything depending on the scenario and the combat situation.
Personally, I don't get excited for a mass-produced weapon. I mean, to me, that just screams opportunity for things to get screwed up on it. So
ask GM.
Ask Captain Rex, though. Ask Captain. I mean, this is a weapon that he used routinely through all sorts of different engagements.
God, that action figure, that Black Series action figure, I'll tell you that. That is a
sharp
figure.
Yeah, it's a sharp one.
David, I'm going to let you go next. Are you ready?
Yeah, I can be.
All right. Are we done attacking our friend Jesse?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
With love.
Yeah, that was with love. Your 2 minutes begin now.
Cool. So I chose the Wester 34 Blaster Pistol. This is exciting for me, and I'm sure it was for you, Jesse, because I was really worried you were going to pick this one, since Jango Fett typically carries it. He carried 2 of them. These were custom-made just for him. Pretty awesome. They're light. They're efficient. They're ready at a moment's notice. They're not big and bulky like your blaster, the one you're going to talk about, David. So you got a faster draw, which is pretty good.
Girth.
They're made with a DeLorean alloy, which means that they can get super hot, which means they can fire at a quicker rate, and, your thing will melt pretty quick, where mine will stick around for a while. But you might get a few more shots out of it, but I don't need the extra shots. So you got high precision. I mean, if you look in the movies, this thing has killed a Jedi, a dinosaur-looking Jedi that we don't know a name to. It's killed the Reek at the execution arena. Is that what they call it these days? That's the big rhino-looking thing with, like, the one broken horn. So, I mean, this thing's a known killer right here. You're starting to crack and get ready there. So, best blaster, without a doubt. Right here.
Okay, so all right. So I'm going to start this, and before I mention this table is not like nailed to the floor. So if you come across it, you're going to owe me money, and you'll probably be removed from the show. So just be careful. All right, 2 minutes are up. Go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost, the DC-17 in comparison would have been on par, if anything, with the firepower and the ability to sustain fire. This is a weapon that was used on Umbara, which, if you watch the Clone Wars series, there were some intense engagements there. That is an example there. So in terms of overheating and falling apart, not going to happen. They're comparable. The DC-17 was considered to be a high firepower blaster pistol, okay, with a high rate of fire. That's why Captain Rex used it. Okay, not saying that the Westar 34 is a bad pistol, but again, it's a customized pistol, so not everybody's going to have access to it. Yeah, it's great. It sounds great.
See the joy in his face talking about prequel.
Yeah, I know. I love
his seat is so wet right now.
I hate to say it, as much as I love Django, I think the DC-17 would actually win in a fight.
My only thing about the blaster that you picked, and I think it kind of goes back to yours too, is you both are picking guns that I think are very good by and of themselves, but it all comes down to the user who's accurate enough. Like Django is like super accurate with his blaster pistols, but is the next guy? Probably not. And limited I don't know. You're not able to shoot a whole lot. It's great if you're a bounty hunter. It's for the specified individual, and it's not really great for the casual user. Our Second Amendment users. They wouldn't want this gun.
Wow, we got political.
Yeah, okay. I'm just full of it tonight. Are we done? We have 20 seconds left. Do you want to berate David anymore?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
I think he's sore enough.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kick in. So I'm doing... you guys are knuckleheads. The Z6 rotary blaster cannon first debuted, I believe, in the Micro series in 2003 with the ARC Trooper on Hypori, which was the series in general is just so great. But it's the one with the 6 barrels. It can shoot as many as 166 shots in less than a second. I will tell you that the one downgrade with this blaster is that after 200 shots, it has to be manually reloaded, which all clone trooper blasters had to get, at some point during the blast. So bear with me there. I will tell you, though, if you are defending your base, and this is an example like Christophus, for example, a power generator could be hooked up to the gun. It would limit your mobility, but you could fire for longer. Great for defense. It's a gun that you're going to see continuously used throughout the Clone Wars, the 6th season Clone Wars. I mentioned Christophus. Umbreon is one that you mentioned. Umbara. You see it there, used quite prominently. It's great for when you are facing mass loads of droids. This thing can clear the lines. I go back to it. I liked the original Clone Wars cartoon movie that came out in theaters, and the Battle Christophus, you're seeing guys just rattle down these droids, and then you go back to the first season of the Clone Wars, and you're seeing these the clones just clearing out bridges and pathways with this gun. Heavy duty, very useful. I'm a fan, and I don't know how you can really argue against this gun. I mentioned that, yeah, sometimes it could limit your mobility if you're hooked up to that power generator, but listen, if you're hooked up and you're blowing away 166 shots in a second, I think you're going to have time to reload. You're going to clear what's in front of you in plenty of time. I also want to shout out the fact that we saw it in Star Wars Rebels, and that to me tells you that the quality of this gun can last at least 5 decades, because you're seeing it displayed there in the Rebels, and I'm up. Oh man, I'm out of time. But like I was saying, my last point. Oh my gosh, the phone still goes on. But like I was saying, the point is the quality of the gun can last a long time, still function, and be effective. So now that my phone has stopped with the alarm, that was obnoxious. I'll go ahead and start the 2-minute timer for you guys to berate me. Are you guys ready?
Well, I thought the prompt was just for like a blaster. I didn't know I could choose a cannon chain gun as one of my options.
It is called the Z6 Rotary Blaster Cannon, a heavy weapon that fired a massive spray of blaster bolts, according to Wikipedia.
And Wikipedia calls it a blaster cannon chain gun, developed to immerse sun.
Yeah, thank you for continuing to prove my point. Yeah. Are you going to use the time to disprove me or what?
Cannon chain gun.
It calls it a blaster cannon chain gun. Blaster's in the word. You notice how pistol's not in mine, but it is yours? Come on, bro. Anybody? Okay, here
Unwieldy.
we go.
Heavy.
Already mentioned that and disproved it.
Exposes you to fire in order to use it. Think about this.
Okay, that's the one knock against it.
Okay. I will agree that, yes, could survive the time. I mean, honestly, all 3 of these blasters, we know that Boba carried the West Star 34s for some period of time after his father's death. And we know that Rex carried the DC-17s into his career. So, yeah, I mean, those are all perks for all the blasters.
Well,
here.
the C6
But I'm really
shinier.
thinking that you're overcompensating by choosing this one.
What do you mean I'm overcompensating? Why had to bring my manhood in all this? We kept it PG the entire time.
Apparently, you'd be a little inaccurate if you needed that many shots.
It's not about being inaccurate. You're such a clown. It's not about being inaccurate. It's the fact that you're facing like hundreds of battle droids at any given time, and you can just mow them down. Think about it. I mean, if you're thinking about the Battle of Geonosis and you come down into that arena, and you don't just have a regular rifle, but you have one of these blaster cannons, that's going to clear a perimeter so that you can get your Jedi on board and get the F out of there.
Again, situation-wise, yeah.
You have a minute left.
Like on the battle station where, what is that? Season 6 where the clone's biochip kind of malfunctions and everything. Very close quarters combat. I don't think the Z6 rotary blaster cannon would have been that good in those tight corridors.
I think it would have been really great, Jesse.
With
it would have
limited
killed
cover?
that really annoying Kaminoan lady who was messing it all up. Yeah.
We're talking on the battle station, not on Camino. Okay.
Jesse, I'm right. Jesse, I'm right.
I don't know.
You have 30 seconds. Anything else? No?
Nope.
We're good? Okay, cool. So that's a lot of fun. As you can see that we get into it. I like it. I think it's fun.
I just think it's really interesting that the 3 different blasters we chose really kind of reflected our personality. Mine was small. It was concise. Jesse's was mass-produced but reliable. And yours was like, big, loud, and unnecessarily attention-drawing.
He wouldn't hit the broadside of a
just-
bar even with 200
You know
shots.
what? For that observation, make sure
interesting.
that you've hit the subscribe button on this episode because, wow, what a great... That observation brought to you by David Gilbert. That was really great. I don't think there's a clear winner here. I think the fun is letting you decide who won, staying on target. So do you agree with me that the Z6 rotary blaster is the best blaster of the prequels? Do you think that the weapon of Jango Fett was the best blaster of the prequel era? Do you think that Commander Rex's
DC-17
were the best blasters of the prequel era? You let us know down in the comments below who had the best argument, and then whoever is voted for the most obviously gets a start next week, and it has bragging rights.
Last.
I'm sorry?
I think I'd rather go last. Then I hear your arguments first.
Yeah, I think that's like an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you get to make your advantage. You get to pick.
And I feel like the winner should get a cookie too.
Oh, we have a Darth Vader. We got
Yeah, you want some...
We'll do it. We'll do it.
You want a Hershey's Kiss?
My mother gave that to David for Halloween.
A kiss from me to you.
There's dark chocolate too.
So, you know what? Give me a piece of candy because we're celebrating on this episode, too, because it's episode 36, but it's also our year anniversary for Beyond the Blast Doors. And we're going to be announcing a 600 subscriber contest giveaway here in the next couple of days. So I want to make sure that you are watching the channel. Get that announcement. You can get your contest entry video underway for that because it's going to be pretty great. I've seen we probably have 80% of the giveaway so far. Like Star Wars themed Hot Wheels, and we have Black Series merch. We'll get some comic books in there, so it's gonna be pretty cool. And I think we might even do a separate giveaway that's like not Star Wars related because we have a lot of people who just watch us because they think we're nice people. I'm going to talk in the microphone while I have chocolate in my mouth, so I'm super unprofessional. I'm sorry. But
Let me take your trash.
yeah,
for
thank
you.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Before we go, because we are really excited, we had no idea that people would actually continue to watch us over the course of the first year. So, real quick, David, do you have a favorite moment of the last year?
Oh, there's so many. How do I narrow it down? Do I pick the time that Nick upset Gina Gavankar and caused that? Do I pick the Nathan Greno moment where we got the lovely art back there? I think if I'm going to boil it down, I really, really enjoyed our field trip down to Wizard World back in February. Finally got to put a face with a name with Steve and get to experience my first conference and convention. It was good to do it with you guys.
That's awesome, and it was great to share that moment with you. And Jesse, if you had to pick one moment
I picked
from the last year, what would it be?
Oh, I have to agree with David Gilbert. That's really that's a loaded question and a really tough one to really single it down to one moment. But I'm going to have to go with Wizard World because, it was kind of our first official trip somewhere as a podcast. We got to meet the rest of, we got to meet Rebel Steve and everything.
Who's also streaming once a week on our Twitch. Check it out.
Yeah, that's a new thing that's coming as I knock the mic out of my
I was
face.
going to say, you eat that mic.
I know, right? Yeah, as Wizard World is just an overall great experience. Just getting to meet a lot of people, the cosplay, and everything.
Before you go, David, can I tell you my favorite moment with Jesse?
Yeah.
It was that time that we got together and we built the lightsabers.
Yeah, I've
had
got
yours?
mine here. The one that I originally did.
I have mine right here.
Yep.
Plumbing parts still in
This
the
is a jerk move.
package. And there's even a receipt in here, Jesse, that says June 24th of 2017 here. So I really enjoyed making a lightsaber with you.
There's a very, very long story behind the delay on part 2 of
that we don't have time for. So let me
I
tell you
know.
about my favorite moment from the last year because I have so many that I sift through. I think about the time that Janina Gavankar got offended by Nick's commentary.
Again, sorry.
We are very sorry about that because I don't think that was the intention. I really don't. There was the time that Lego threatened us because we had posted illegally obtained images of Lego sets. There was that time that Disney took down episode 34 because we used the trailer too much, which I don't buy. Fair use, folks. Look it up. It was completely legal what we did. But when I sift through all that, honestly, I think my favorite moment was getting the sponsorship with the Fantasy Shop. Just because it meant that our hard work has paid off to where a person, a company, believes in our product so much that they want to help us be more successful. So as we go into year 2 of Beyond the Blast Doors, we're doing weekly giveaways where we're going to be giving away that week's worth of comics. We're going to have a couple of surprises mixed in there. Going to more conventions is definitely a goal. In the first year, Steve helped us out so much, and he went to Wizard World and Planet Comic Con and Dragon Con and C2E2 and all these other events and did great videos. And what we're hoping in year 2 is maybe the 3 of us can go meet him and do those events more in person and do more projects with those. So I'm really excited about it. I think what my favorite thing about year 1 is that it allows for a year 2. You have to have time pass in order to enjoy more of the future. So, and of course, none of this is possible without you supporting our channel and letting people know. So I want to take the time now to remind you that you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can support us on Patreon and help us really enhance our product. If you believe in what we do, please consider subscribing and supporting us on Patreon. We have 4 stellar patrons right now that give us great feedback, and they also get access to some really cool exclusive content that is coming their way. And also, I just really like you guys. I'm just really happy. It was a good episode, and so glad that you could join us. Remember,
I'm blushing
hashtag smells like fish. Comment down below. You could win this week's weekly giveaway thanks to the Maplewood comic book shop, the fantasy shop. That's who they are. And any last words, gentlemen, as we close out episode 36, year 1 of Beyond the Blast Doors?
Someday your lightsaber will look like this, David.
I don't know. I kind of like the packaging.
Put it on the shelf.
Can you tell there's a real friendship here? It's really blossomed over the last year, and you've been able to witness that, and we look forward to witnessing another year with you. We'll see you soon. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can watch other videos just like this one right now by checking out these videos on your screen. And by the way, thanks for checking out Beyond the Blast Doors.